Body of an area rap artist is found dead and suspicion surrounds his death. 23 News reporter Ashley Antonini has the latest details on the death of William Pickering.
It's already so much hatred that's pointed my way in this rap shit. You know what I'm saying? All that shit, bro. These rappers know exactly who the fuck I am. They know exactly what I do to them on the track. That's why they don't post my music. That's why they don't share it, because they know I'll f their ass up if I get on the song with them.
A guy named EBE Bandz, better known as the white drill rapper out of Chicago, blew up fast. People couldn't stop talking about him, not just because he was a white face in a street scene dominated by black rappers, but because of the wild and tragic way his life ended. From hustling fake lean to pulling triggers in the trenches, his story took a dark turn when rumors spread that the cartel set him on fire. This whole thing sounds unreal, but it really happened. EBE Bandz was born in Dallas, Texas, but word is he spent most of his life running around Chicago's east side.
He was into shiesty shit. Like, he did shiest motherfuckers. Like, he was good at that. He taught me how to scam a lot of shit, like how to do the iPhone scam.
His dad got locked up right after he was born, and people whispered that his pops had deep connections with major drug dealers across different cities. With that kind of background, it didn't take long before Bandz found himself mixed up in the streets too. He kept things on the low, never bragging too much about what he was doing behind the scenes. In one interview, Bandz even admitted that he got sent to a juvie program in Missouri, and that's where he started writing rhymes seriously. Once he got back to Chicago, he wanted to go legit and chase music the smart way. He got into Columbia College, studying music production and learning how to cook up beats, but money got tight and he could only stay for one semester before dropping out. Still, he refused to quit making music no matter what.
I was going to school at Columbia for producing and shit. I don't go there no more because I feel like their school system is full and overpriced and all that, and at the time I couldn't really afford to go there for more than one semester. But I was riding the train all the way to 87 with the jock on me from the buildings at the University Center with the jock on me.
Even while chasing his rap dreams, Bandz stayed deep in the streets. Nobody really knows who he was affiliated with before he connected with EBE, but by that time, he was already selling weed and fake lean. And everybody in the trenches knows, you scam the wrong people with fake lean, and that can get you killed. That's how Bandz ended up as the only white dude repping EBE, standing out in one of Chicago's most dangerous crews. Before EBE Bandz officially started repping the set, he linked up with a dude from EBE who wanted to buy some lean. EBE was known as the Titanic Stone Set, a branch of the Black P Stones, one of the toughest street families in Chicago. Around that time, GME and EBE were real close, so they merged together and became GMEBE, turning the streets into their playground. What's wild is that when Bandz pulled up to sell that lean, he had no clue that this deal was gonna change his whole life. Bandz whipped up the fake lean from scratch and made the sale. But the next day, the dude who bought it realized Bandz had finessed him hard. Furious, he called Bandz again, pretending he wanted to buy more. When Bandz showed up to the block, boom, the EBE crew robbed him on the spot. Crazy, right? But here's where it gets even wilder. After all that drama, Bandz and the same dudes who robbed him actually started vibing with each other. Somehow that beef turned into a bond. Before long, Bandz was fully locked in. He wasn't just hanging around, he became a real Titanic Stone. Word from Chicago sources said Bandz was putting in serious work for the set, allegedly even shooting at GMEBE's ops like he was born in the trenches. He proved himself and earned respect in a crew that didn't hand it out easy. Even while all this street chaos was going on, Bandz stayed focused on his music hustle.
And then they don't want to give me their fan base. They don't want to make it, you know what I'm saying, possible for me. But it's cool, bro. This rap shit. I'm finna go to Detroit. I'm finna network with they rappers because they fuck with me. And I'm finna take off the only way I know how, bro. You know what I'm saying? Stay positive. Promote some positivity. Maybe that shit changes, you know? That's the only thing I can do.
In 2015, he dropped the track Demons, and that's when things started to blow up. The Chicago drill scene was going crazy, but no one had ever seen a white rapper spit bars that raw. On Demons, Bandz even shouted out his brothers GMEBE, Murder, and Raw, rapping, "Every day, tell God I'm thankful you fuck with me." It was gritty, bold, and pure Chicago energy. It's gonna be fatal. Murder, smoke you like a Vega. Skirt, pull off, we see you later. We might just pull up in the Rover. We might just pull up in the Nova. Either way, we got the toaster. Hit your block, reload, it's over. That was EBE Bandz going off on one of his wildest tracks, showing just how deep he was repping the Titanic Stones. On his song T-Shirt, he dropped gritty bars like, I got money with me. You know he blast at Murder Man AC. He a blasted LP in the cut where the Mac at. Bandz wasn't just rapping, he was talking that street reality with raw confidence. He kept it ruthless on another verse. I don't care what's on your plate, I'll take your 8. I'll take your cake, take your face with this Draco, I'll come spray up your plates. That's the kind of line that had fans wondering if he was just spitting bars or really living it. Bandz even said, I learned from OGs and killers, body droppers and gorillas, Titanic drug dealers, hide the stash in the ceilings. He painted the picture of the world he was surrounded by, grimy, cold, and full of danger. EBE wasn't just a rap group, it was a mix of rappers and real street hitters. On another record called Too Much, Bandz kept the same energy, rapping alongside EBE Murder, saying, for the money, a murder, EBE, we be in the streets, better keep your burner. When I ride out beef, we leave your ass 6 feet. The whole crew was buzzing in the Chicago drill scene, dropping heat that had people talking non-stop. By 2015, Bandz was getting major recognition. He and Lil Chief Darrow even teamed up with Cole Bennett from Lyrical Lemonade to shoot a music video. A huge move back then. It was proof that EBE wasn't just street talk. They were breaking into the spotlight for real. But the hustle didn't stop there, because by 2016, Bandz was still deep in the game. That year, he, Murder, and Lil Chief Darrow reportedly broke into a house to rob someone, hitting what people called a brutal lick. The streets were watching every move they made, and Bandz was living right on the edge between fame and chaos. The guy who owned the crib was at home with his girlfriend and his son when the EBE crew showed up, masks on, and ready for trouble. They told him to open the safe, demanding cash on the spot.
Good afternoon, Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office announcing at this point that a 3-count complaint has been authorized against William Marzatti. Charges are as follows. Count 1 is first-degree murder, count 2 is first-degree murder, and count 3 is concealment of a homicidal death.
When the man opened it and said there was no money, Darrow snapped. He pistol whipped him right there in front of his family. It didn't stop there. 2 teenagers were also inside, and both of them got dragged into a bedroom while the crew waved guns, yelling threats that made the whole house shake. Somehow the same man Darrow hit managed to escape the chaos and run for help. He sprinted straight to the cops, but by the time the police made it back to the crib, Bandz, Darrow, and Murder were already gone like ghosts. Turns out the victim actually knew Darrow. He had even let him crash at his place before. That made it personal, and it didn't take long for cops to catch Darrow and Murder, who both ended up getting 7-year sentences. But Bandz? He never got charged because police were reportedly only looking for black suspects that night. Bandz completely slipped through the cracks. After skating free from the home invasion, Bandz stayed low-key for a bit, but not for long. In 2017, police spotted him rolling a blunt inside a parked car. When they pulled him out of the whip, they found a Glock with an extended clip sitting right there. Bandz got booked on a gun charge, but he didn't stay locked up long. Once he was out, he was right back in the trenches, moving like nothing had changed. Even through all that chaos, Bandz kept talking about wanting a record deal and really making it in the rap game. He had the music, the name, and the street buzz, but fate had something darker waiting for him. By 2019, Bandz had moved to Rockford, Illinois, just about an hour outside of Chicago. Rockford wasn't known for wild street violence like the city, but what happened there next made his story even more twisted and shocking. On June 1st, 2019, EBE Bandz' mom called the cops to report him missing, and that call kicked off one of the darkest twists in Chicago's drill history. At first, police thought maybe he'd gone off the grid for a while, but nobody was ready for what came next. Almost a month later, officers found what was left of his body deep in the woods. It was a horrifying discovery. Bandz had been beaten to death with a baseball bat, and then his body was set on fire to cover it up. The scene was brutal beyond words. Police later said a man named William Zay Marze was the one who smashed Bandz in the head with the bat, killing him instantly. After that,
shit, I connected with the gang selling drugs, really.
Damn,
You know how I connected.
Hey, let this shit be known right now. Let this be known. Let this shit be known.
his associate Manuel Ramirez allegedly helped him drag the body into the woods and burn it. Zay and Ramirez were the first 2 arrested, but the story didn't stop there. Soon after, cops also charged Dakota Graff and Kenna Crow with murder, tying them all into the same gruesome case. Now, the big question everybody kept asking, why did they kill EBE Bandz? The streets were buzzing with theories, but one rumor hit harder than the rest. Some say Zay had cartel connections down in Mexico, and that Bandz had run off with some product he was supposed to move. According to that word on the street, Zay fronted Bandz half a kilo of heroin, and Bandz was supposed to pay up once it's sold. But instead, he allegedly took the work and vanished without sending a dime back. That's when everything went left. Zay and his crew allegedly caught up with him, and that's when the deadly attack went down. When police finally booked Zay, they set his bond at $1 million, but in most cases, you only need to drop 10% in cash to walk free. Word is, Zay's family scraped together $100,000 and bailed him out, adding another wild twist to a story that already sounded straight out of a crime movie. William Zay Marze knew he was done for if he took his case to trial, so instead of facing that life sentence, he did the race and escaped to Mexico. Word is, while Zay was allegedly hiding out with his cartel connection south of the border, all his homies back home were getting locked up one by one for EBE Bandz murder. The whole crew started to crumble. Colton Kerr ended up getting convicted for the murder and was sentenced to 32 years behind bars, while Dakota Graff caught 35 years. As for Manuel Ramirez, the one who allegedly helped move and burn Band's body, he got off way lighter. He wasn't charged with murder, just concealment of a homicidal death, and only had to serve 180 days in jail. The streets were stunned by how uneven those sentences were. Even though police couldn't find William Zay Marze, his trial still went on without him, and the judge hit him with a life sentence anyway. Zay stayed on the run for years, supposedly getting help from cartel figures to stay off the radar. But in 2024, after years of hiding, the cops finally tracked him down and arrested him. His run was over for good. Now, there's no solid proof that Zay actually had real ties to any cartel, but that doesn't mean Bandz didn't cross him. A Chicago rapper named Buddha G, who once dropped a track with Bandz, went on No Jumper and said Bandz might have ran off on the plug. According to Buddha G, Bandz was deep in some shady business, scamming people online and pulling risky moves that could have easily backfired. Still, EBE Bandz' own manager told a different story. He claims Zay was actually close friends with Bandz and snaked him in cold blood. Either way, betrayal, money, and street politics all played a part in the wild downfall of EBE Bandz. Some people out there say the real story might have been the other way around, that EBE Bandz actually fronted Zay some pills to sell, but instead of flipping them for cash, Zay allegedly started popping them himself. Once he got hooked and couldn't pay Bandz back, the rumor goes that Zay decided to kill Bandz just to erase the debt. Nobody knows exactly what went down that night, but the streets keep whispering, and the wildest rumor of all brings in a millionaire connection that sounds straight out of a movie. Word is, back when Bandz first started dropping music, a guy named John Ferlito Jr. was allegedly funding his studio sessions. And get this, John Ferlito Jr.'s father is supposedly the man who created Arizona iced tea. Crazy, right? But John Jr. had his own issues. He made headlines back in 2014 for owing $5 million in taxes in New York. People say Bandz and John Jr. fell out around 2017, right after Bandz caught that gun charge, and that made some fans start questioning what was really going on behind the scenes.
This motherfucker, Mexicans kill him, some white motherfuckers killed him, they wild. They said he probably ran off on the wrong plug in front of him. R.I.P. Funham though, R.I.P. Stoney.
Now, to be fair, there's no proof linking John Ferlito Jr. to Bandz' death, and it's pretty unlikely he had anything to do with it, but the rumor still had the internet buzzing. So many details about this story remain a mystery, but the version that Bandz and Zay were homies who turned on each other makes the most sense. There's zero evidence that Zay had any real cartel ties, and the way Bandz died suggests he didn't even expect trouble from Zay. The sad part, Bandz was known for always being strapped, never moving around without protection. In fact, during a DJ Vlad interview, he even flashed a gun on camera, showing he was ready for anything. But when it came to Zay, he probably thought it was just another friend pulling up, never knowing it'd be his last time trusting the wrong person. It never made sense how EBE Bandz, a dude who really knew how to move smart in the streets, ended up getting caught lacking that bad. He survived pushing weight and running through the wildest blocks in Chirac, so for him to get dropped like that, it had to be some backdoor setup by someone he trusted. After his death, the GMEBE crew started to fall apart fast. The same guys who once ruled the streets, and the booth started getting locked up left and right. The downfall of the whole movement came over something as simple as a stolen gun. EBE was originally founded by a dude named SKO back in the early 2000s, and for years they were clicked up tight with GME. The two sets moved like family, even though there were times when GME had ties with some of EBE's ops like NLMB. Still, EBE stayed cool with their own allies, especially a crew called Hootie Gang, who had their back from day one. Things got deadly in 2014 when NLMB allegedly slid on Hootie Gang and killed a guy named Aki, sparking a long-running war between the groups. Fast forward to 2022, and the beef got even messier. Someone from Hootie Gang, known as Lil Curtis, allegedly stole a gun from an NLMB shorty mob member named Lil O. Instead of letting it slide, Lil O got another strap and allegedly shot Lil Curtis dead at a bus stop. That single hit reignited old street tensions all over again. To understand the full mess, you gotta know the history. NLMB is a mix between No Limit and the Muskegon Boys, and back in the day, the Muskegon Boys were tight with another crew called Triple B's. But here's the catch. Triple B's were EBE's main ops, meaning when the Muskegon Boys linked with them, they inherited the beef automatically. Meanwhile, EBE also rocked with ESD, another set that's been trading bodies with NLMB for years. It was never-ending chaos, click-ups, betrayals, and crossfire everywhere. For a long stretch, the GME x EBE alliance held strong, standing against their enemies together. But after Bandz' murder in 2019 and all the new street heat that followed, even that powerful click-up started to crumble. By the time NLMB and Triple B's fell out in 2019, the Chicago drill landscape had shifted forever, leaving GMEBE as just another tragic chapter in a city built on loyalty, betrayal, and revenge. Most of the Black P Stones and some of the Triple B's were cool with NLMB and GME, keeping things business as usual, but EBE wasn't with it. They allegedly refused to squash the beef with NLMB, and that's when things turned deadly again. Word on the block says GME backdoored an EBE member and stole his gun, breaking the trust that had held the alliance together for years. After that, some GME members teamed up with Drill City, the hood that Lil Jeff put on the map with his music and reputation. Even Lil Jeff's close homie, Lil Squee, jumped in the mix before he passed, taking shots at EBE and confirming in his lyrics that the whole war kicked off over a gun. On his track, he rapped, "Fuck the whole EBE and ESD, they mad about a gin. I had posted her on my main, now she know I ain't playing. I gotta watch these nerves, they be snakes, but I ain't understand." Those bars told the world that street politics, jealousy, and women were all tangled up in the madness. Meanwhile, Bandz' homie Lil Chief Darrow still reps GMEBE, trying to keep the movement alive, but it's not the same anymore. The trenches are hotter than ever, and it looks like the beef is far from over, which might push Darrow to drop the GMEBE name completely. He's still putting out tracks, but the buzz isn't there like it used to be. These days, Darrow's new videos barely touch 10,000 views on YouTube. Nothing like the attention he got when he and Bandz were making noise together. Back then, Bandz and GMEBE had real momentum. Record labels were watching, fans were tuning in, and their music was starting to break out beyond the city. If they had stayed focused and kept their heads down, they might have actually made it out of the trenches. But fate had other plans. Now, instead of being remembered for his potential and music, EBE Bandz is remembered for his tragic and brutal death, a story that shook the Chicago drill scene to its core. If you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment about what you think really happened to EBE Bandz. His story is wild, sad, and unforgettable, so let's keep the conversation going.